All right. So much going on here this morning that we're covering. And, of course, life goes on even with this crisis. And we still have people functioning in our elected offices. And we still have work that needs to be done, even though many people are involved doing it remotely. Let's get the latest and find out what's happening on the North Shore in the 22nd Judicial District, St. Tammany, Washington parishes. The DA, Warren Montgomery, joining us here in the Ringside Hotline. And DA Montgomery, how are you, sir? Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning to your listeners. We're doing great.
So give us an update, if you could, Mr. DA. How is your office handling this whole coronavirus?
Well, we were very, very fortunate. And I say fortunate. We have been working hard to establish the use of technology, the effective use of technology in our office. You know, when I came in the office, no one had email addresses, or they didn't have public email addresses. They had their private addresses. No one had laptop computers from the office, and we really didn't have the capacity to work remotely. And over the last 4 or 5 years, we've made an effort to go paperless. And I can't tell you that we're fully paperless because we're not, but we've made a lot of strides in that direction. So when this thing hit, I immediately was able to send all of my felony investigators, or not investigators, ADAs, assistant district attorneys, home with laptop computers. And they're able to do about 80 to 90%. Let's say 80% of their work they're able to do remotely, and as well with our investigators. And then we ordered a bunch more laptops, and we've sent most of our staff home to work remotely, and they're doing an outstanding job. We took a guilty plea yesterday, and we're getting a lot of work done. Really increasing our efficiency and reducing our cost. And I'm very proud of my team for making the adjustments that they needed to make on short notice to keep our productivity up.
And that's, of course, a challenge during all this when people are working at home. Is there anyone going into the office? Is everyone at home, DA Montgomery?
No, not everyone's. In fact, I'm at the office right now.
Okay.
I'm here, and I could work remotely, but frankly, I get so much more work done here. And the key was not to eliminate everyone from the office, but to reduce by far the number of people so that we would have that necessary social distancing, so that we actually, the office is actually open, but on a limited basis. And we ask people to, as much as possible, to communicate with us electronically by phone,
right,
or by email. But we do have, from time to time, we'll have a meeting here, but we want people to call us before they come, because we want to do everything we can to reduce the spread of this COVID-19 virus.
DA Warren Montgomery is with us. Jeff Crouere here. It's Ringside on WGSO, 990 AM, and, of course, WGSO.com. What about the court? Is court open? We still have judges in place? Still have hearings going on, or is all that on hold?
We have very, very limited hearings going on. In fact, I'm looking out my window, and I don't see any of the judges' cars parked in the parking lot. So what they're doing, I'm sure, is to try to work remotely as much as possible. And we're using technology. As a matter of fact, that we're using this Zoom application on our cell phones and our tablets and our computers to hold hearings. I mentioned we took a guilty plea. And so on Thursday, from someone who was in jail, and they were sentenced. And what happened is the defense attorney connected with his computer through the Zoom application. Our office connected through our computer through the Zoom application. The judge and the clerk did the same, and we were able to conduct business. So you're not going to be able to do jury trials, and there are no trials scheduled until I want to say May 1st. And we're going to have to see how things work out. So we're not able to do trials and other types of hearings, but we are able to do the emergency business that needs to be done. and continue to work our files, because the truth is, Jeff, 90% of the work that a prosecutor does is in preparation. For every hour, we always think of the courtroom, and that is true, but for every hour we spend in the courtroom, we're spending 9 hours preparing for that trial. And so we're doing all of our work to prepare for all of our trials so that when this cloud of the coronavirus lifts, we can immediately go back to work and get the people's work done.
Have we had any cases in St. Tammany or Washington parishes involving people that are intentionally spreading this or pretending to spread this? I keep hearing cases of people being arrested for, spreading the coronavirus or pretending to, coughing on others and claiming that they've got it, and stores having to throw out various amounts of their products because of worries. We haven't had any of those type of cases on the North Shore, have we?
To the best of my knowledge, we haven't had any of that. And I can't imagine anyone being, I'll just say it like it is, stupid enough to pull a prank like that, because that's a sure way to have yourself arrested quickly and quarantined in our local jail, because that's the last thing we need, is for people to be exposed, or even the fear of being exposed. And that's a big issue right now. The coronavirus is a threat to our community, but the fear of the coronavirus is a threat to our community, and we don't need anybody trying to amplify that fear unnecessarily.
What are we doing as far as our population in jail? We've heard some areas releasing prisoners because of concerns about, the coronavirus spreading in prison, and that nonviolent offenders should be released. And is that kind of thing being considered on the North Shore?
Well, that's a great question. That's a great question, because it is a balancing act between public health and public safety. And, no one wants to see someone who was arrested for, a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old arrested for stealing a candy bar, incarcerated, and with the potential of being exposed to the coronavirus. No one wants that. And at the same time, we don't want a dangerous and violent person released from jail who's going to inflict that violence on the community. We don't want prisoners or criminals let out of prison and law-abiding citizens imprisoned in their own homes. So we're trying to balance that, and what we're doing is a targeted release of people from the jail. We're going through the jail list. We're trying to screen that list to identify people who are infirm or otherwise at a medical high risk and for a possible early release. But in that context, we're not, this is not a blanket release of people. This isn't a large scale blank check of we're just going to let people out of prison. We're doing it on a very orderly, very systematic analysis of their threat, and where we think it's appropriate, we will, we're going to get those people out of the jail so we can reduce the public risk.
And as they're being released, will they, once this coronavirus passes, be brought back to prison, or are they going to be released for good?
Oh, absolutely. No. They're going to they're going to be released, and when they're released, they're being given a court date for the resolution of their case. And so they're going to have to come back to court, and we'll determine at that time whether or not they need to be put back into incarcerated a facility for public safety. But if you're, I would say if you're let out during this time because we thought that we needed to do this for the purposes of public health, and you don't commit any crimes and you didn't get any trouble in the interim, you have a good chance probably of remaining out until we're able to resolve your case. The purpose isn't, the purpose is just to really be the dual purpose, public safety and public health.
DA Warren Montgomery with us, 504-556-9696, our talk line. It's ringside on WGSO, 990 AM, WGSO.com. Our friend Brian in Metairie has a question and comment for you, Mr. DA. Brian, welcome aboard, sir. Good morning.
Mr. Canizero, I sure pray to good Lord.
No, this is DA Montgomery, not Canizero. Same profession though. Same profession, DA.
And hard working as a son of a gun. I have no doubt.
Yes.
My question.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Is anyone? How many sleepless nights you don't even get to go home because you're trying to keep up with a backlog that's impossible to do with your budget? Number two, who under the under the federal government is checking every local state to see if whoever is arrested, you got to forgive me, my COPD is not a fun thing to have. All inmates being tested with the temperature gauge to check if they have temperatures coming in, and all that are being released being tested before they release. Because it just seems if they even show a slight raise in their temperature, they're a candidate for having this coronavirus. Even though they might not ever show symptoms, they might be the carrier. And what's worse than letting one carry out in the open public? Thank you.
Yes, sir. That's
good question, sir. Good question.
Two great questions. Let me respond to the first one about the temperature check. And I can't confirm that at the federal level because I'm not working the federal system at the moment. I'm almost certain at the federal level that they're testing at both ends, both coming into prison and going out of prison. I know they're testing going in and coming out of our local jail facility here in St. Tammany and Washington parishes. And I know that they're being tested coming in and coming out from the state Department of Corrections, from the prison system. And in that regard, let me just say that to date, there has been no confirmed positive test of any inmate in a state facility or a parish facility around the state. So the threat is very, very real, but as I speak today, as of yesterday at 5 p.m., there was no confirmed case of the coronavirus in our jails or prisons. And we want to keep it that way, and we're working hard to keep it that way. Insofar as sleeping well, I work hard, I do my best, and by and large, I do sleep well. Honestly, I wake up at night thinking about problems and challenges that we have in trying to resolve difficult situations. But I'm fortunate I have a lot of great support, and I think I'm speaking for Leon Canizero and Paul Connick and all the DAs. We're doing the best we can. We have the support of the public and of a lot of good people, and the prayers and support of a lot of good people. And so I think we sleep well under the circumstances.
All right. Welcome back. It's, of course, 9:90 a.m., WGSO.com, on mobile devices with the TuneIn Radio app. Ringside program with you weekdays 7 to 11. And we thank Brian for his phone call. 504-556-9696 is our talk line. A few more minutes here to visit with our special guest. He is the DA at 22nd Judicial District in the state of Louisiana. Covers St. Tammany and Washington parishes. And certainly these are challenging times to be in elected office and dealing with all of the various issues that we're dealing with here with this coronavirus. And we hope we can get back to business soon. DA Warren Montgomery, obviously this has been unprecedented. You have to be nimble in dealing with all of this. Have there been any suggestions that we're going to have to make changes as far as budgeting or anything? I know the private sector has been impacted tremendously as far as businesses not being able to survive and people having to shut down their doors and people getting some help. What about government? What about the North Shore? How's our budgeting for your office and other offices on the North Shore? All right. I guess we lost DA Montgomery. We'll try to see if we can get him back on. Okay. Are you with us, DA Montgomery? Okay, good. I don't know if you heard my question.
Hear you, Jeff.
Okay.
Yes,
did you hear my question? Okay.
Yes, I did. And that is a great question. And to date, we have not been impacted. And everybody who's in a leadership position, you don't accomplish these jobs alone. You accomplish them with a team. And I have a great team, a great group of people. And you just don't want to lose your good people. You don't want to let them go. You want to keep them. And I've been fortunate to be able to keep them to this date. And I think we're going to make it through. I really do. I'm optimistic about this whole situation. It's a terrible situation. A lot of people are suffering, but I think we're going to pull out of it. And in that regard, I agree with President Trump that we just got to keep our head up and we got to keep moving forward, and we're going to get past it. So anyway, we haven't been impacted, but long term.
So far. Yeah, so far. Yeah.
But long term, there's no question that sales taxes have been dramatically reduced and that people are struggling. So I would say 6 months from now, 9 months from now, there's going to be a day of reckoning. Now, I know there's money that was in this $2.2 trillion package that was passed the other day, and I'm hopeful that some of that money will make its way not only to the citizens and the businesses, but also to those government entities like mine and around the state, other DAs around the state. But we run a pretty tight ship here.
Right. And that's one of, and I want to highlight that's one of the things that you've done is you've really improved there in your office, and you've cut out the waste in your office tremendously in your first few years as DA.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I made decisions early on. I mentioned the technology aspect of the office where we tried to use technology to reduce cost and increase efficiencies. But, one of the things we did was wanted to shorten the time from arrest to conviction or from arrest to resolution of the case. And I wanted to do that because, of course, that's fair to people. I mean, if you committed a crime, you need to be punished swiftly. The punishment needs to be certain, and it needs to be commensurate or relative to the crime, the punishment. And so we did that for the purposes of justice and fairness. But one of the results of that is that we reduced the number of people sitting in jail while they're awaiting the resolution of their case. And that ultimately amounted to a savings to the parish of St. Tammany of almost $1 million a year.
Wow!
And you can find an analysis of that on my website, damontgomery.org, and it's under the Ed B report. An economist named Ed B did an analysis, and you can also find reports from the Metropolitan Crime Commission on that support Ed B's analysis. So we did that on the one hand. The other hand, of course, we had this dispute concerning civil representation. And after I took over the civil representation of parish government here in St. Tammany, we reduced the cost by $500,000.
Wow.
So, I pay my people well. I wish I could pay them more, but we pay them a good salary. But as a result, at the same time, they do a good job for the people of Washington and St. Tammany parishes.
Let's face it, our caller, Mr. Bryan, was talking about DA Canizero. Some of your other DAs don't have that luxury of being able to pay their assistant DAs enough money, and they lose them. There's high turnover. Do you face that problem there? Do you have high turnover, DA Montgomery?
We have, it's true. I've lost a couple of people in the last year who were hired by other DA's offices, and they were paid 15 or 20% more than I paid my employees. So we have a certain turnover as a result of just competition with other DA's offices. Then we have turnover as a result of people going into the private sector.
Sure.
Either to do legal business. But, I look at it a little bit like the LSU football team and the problems that Coach O has. Coach O last year had a high morale, high performance football team. And so what happens when you have a high morale, high performance football team and people come and hire your people away. He lost his defensive coordinator. He lost his offensive coordinator. People, And so, people
and some of his players went to the NFL.
NFL, early,
right.
And so, you know what? That's a problem, but that's a problem that I welcome. That means that we've got a good organization.
Yeah, and that's for sure. And that's what I've been hearing from so many different people about the work you're doing, and we appreciate your transparency in coming on this program, answering questions. And let's do that one more time here before we conclude. Bring on another question from our listeners, and David joins us from Covington. David, welcome aboard with DA Warren Montgomery.
Good morning, Jeff. You're a special individual, and I mean that in a good way.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking my call, Mr. Montgomery. We appreciate you more than you know.
Thank you, David. It's an honor and a privilege to serve you as your district attorney.
Well, thank you. We know you're a fair and honest man. And the city of New Orleans, if they replace Canizaro with someone like Jason Williams, who wants to release all the prisoners out of the jail, they're going to be in one hell of a mess if they allow that to happen, and they're going to be their own worst enemies. As an observer of politics, I think Canizaro does a wonderful job with what he has to work with, and I think he's fair and honest and does a good job. And I have family that lives in New Orleans. I only hope that he's able to maintain, and I do pray for you every night with your cancer.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Look, Leon Canizaro is a fine individual, and you talk about a tough job. He really has a tough job and has a lot of dragons out there that he has to slay, and I do everything I can to support him and the other DAs around the state. And the things I talked about in terms of trying to do a target or selective reduction in jail population, those are things that that DA Canizaro is doing, and other things. He's doing teleconferencing as much as it's allowed by law, and we're trying to get the release of low risk nonviolent offenders and put them on home arrest.
Right.
And the truth is, we've seen a reduction around the state of between 10 and 15% in our local jails. And that's the result of the cooperation between the district attorneys, such as Leon Canizaro, and the sheriffs and the judges.
And DAs, and we only have about a minute, but DAs such as Canizaro, yourself, and Paul Connick, you all communicate regularly, Warren?
Absolutely. We have a district attorneys association. We're all involved in it. We face common problems, and most of the time there are common solutions to those problems. So we don't talk necessarily on the phone every day, but matter of fact, I called Leon Canizaro probably a month ago just to encourage him and to give him a good talk and let him know that we're supporting the good work that he does. Yeah. And so we talk from time to time, and we share information.
Look forward to visiting with you again soon. DA Warren Montgomery, thank you, sir. Quick time out. We'll be right back.